on the boron, mostly you want to first focus on your NP and K and your soil pH. If you don't take care of those, worrying about boron or your other secondary nutrients or your microbes just doesn't make sense. So take care of those primary nutrients, NP and K, and your soil pH. More than likely you'll still have a great crop before you start worrying about some of these other nutrients. Canola crop needs 1 to 1.5 pounds per acre. Like I said, look at your soil samples and your subsoil samples. We do have tissue sampling available. You can see if the in-crop is showing deficiencies for some reason. But when you want to be careful, if you do start foliar applying this, it's a very low use rate. Most guys use maybe do a 1/2 pound per acre, maybe pushing 1 pound per acre, but too much can be very toxic. So it's not very much per acre if you're mixing it in. There are soluble powders that you can mix in with your spray grade, top dress, or dry, but like I said, it can be toxic if too much. Going on to low soil pH, the data we have at OSU says you start losing yield potential at lower than 5.8. It doesn't mean you can't make a crop below 5.8, but you're not going to make that maximum yield. How much difference that is, it's hard to say, but you start losing at 5.8. Best approach is on your field. Some guys that are cash shrimp places, it's really hard to invest that line. There are other options, banning phosphorus at planting beds. There are a couple varieties that we might have heard this morning out at the variety demos that are a little better on low soil pH. Just like in wheat, we got those varieties. It's more of a band-aid treatment than actual treatment. So the best approach is lining. Like I said earlier, your top 3 to 4 inches are typically lower pH than your subsoil. That's basically due to soil surface applying fertilizers. The fertilizer acidifies as it gets changed in the soil. So no-till guys, this is becoming a problem because they can't incorporate some of that subsoil and mix it with the topsoil. Just try to buffer it out. Getting your line work in and no-till is starting to, it takes longer for it to take action. But you can see these plants in areas in the field. Obviously, a lot of the fields aren't consistent all the way across. So you get pockets where you have low soil pH. You'll see these plants that are severely cupped and malformed. But once those roots penetrate, you'll still have a plant. Often, I haven't seen too many fields that have completely died out because of low soil pH. As long as they're still in the 5s. I did see a couple upper 4s in the past where still made a crop, but obviously it hurt the yield tremendously. Here's a couple pictures of low soil pH. You get chlorotic leaf margins and severe leaf cupping. Just a general stress plant that's going to be stunted and delayed maturity in the rest of your field, so that'll cause other problems as well. Like I said, a couple varieties. Also need to add the first 3 decal varieties. Handle a little better than their 4715, what they claim, but we don't have any hard data on these other varieties. So, like I said, it's more of a band-aid treatment than actually trying to treat your soil pH. Moving on to fertilizer in your furrow at planting. This is mostly dependent on soil moisture. Drier soils will cause more problems than a moist soil. Too much will salt out the seed, especially the nitrogen or potassium in the fertilizer. So you want to try to limit how much you put down in the furrow with the seed. OSU is planning to put out a few trials next year if they can get the funding to look at this more. Different soil textures also plays a big part. Your lighter, sandier soils will cause more problems than your heavier clay soils. Just that air in the soil reacts a lot more. So when you're considering how much to put down in the furrow, take into account how much soil moisture you have and what kind of soil texture you have. Try to push the envelope. So we need more data. We're going to look at that next year. As far as a safe recommendation for now, we're saying no more than 5 pounds per acre of actual nitrogen plus potassium. Most of your fertilizers used in furrow don't have potassium, so you're mostly looking at that nitrogen. Example, it'd be 28 pounds per acre of DAP or 1846O dry product, or 4.3 gallons per acre of 1034O. So like I said, it's not very much, but it does help the crop get up and going. The extra phosphorus in the furrow really helps out getting that root developed quickly. So there's still a benefit, even though it doesn't seem like that much. Like I said, look at your soil moisture and your soil texture. Not be able to up those up a little bit, but we are going to look to see what levels they are. Some fertilizer companies, we've asked them how much they're willing to guarantee, basically, and we haven't heard any of them guarantee over 5, or 5 gallons per acre of 1034O. So some years it's a gamble, some years it's better to just be safe than sorry. Going on to the importance of fertility, obviously a healthy plant can handle stress environments a lot better than an unhealthy plant. Rainfall is needed to incorporate our spring top dress. Like I said earlier, basically it doesn't matter how much you put down, if the rain's not going to get down the root zone, it's not going to help. We had some late rains that pushed it down this year. That might help the seed field, but some fields are still deficient just because we haven't had the rain to get it down to it. Inadequate fertility or pH, often only compounds drought stress. So getting a healthy plant, healthy root system, you're able to battle drought or insect pressures or disease pressures or any other kind of stress a lot better than also having inadequate fertility or pH. Going to that healthy plant, this is taken early April, a few weeks ago, and basically this is a wheat field. Doesn't look like maybe about 3 or 5 bushel wheat. I don't know, y'all can guess. But pretty thin, only about 6-8 inches tall. Already had a head on it, 1st of April. Pretty thin. Right across the road, a canola field that's still looking like it's holding on pretty good. So it is a little bit more drought tolerant if that taproot can get down. So a healthy plant is going to be a lot more tolerant to all these stresses, like I said. In summary, I can't stress enough that getting the topsoil sample, and some guys were really stressing to get that subsoil sample. I know it's a lot harder to get, 6 to 18 inches. Take care of your soil pH. I know it's hard, especially on these draining acres, but trying to do anything you can to alleviate that soil pH will help you. Wheat responds fairly well to fertility. We've seen canola respond a lot better. We've dumped the fertility to it and it's responded. So the more you dump to it, the more likely it's going to pay off. We haven't seen too many instances where it doesn't. Obviously we didn't have the rainfall this year to have it leach through the soil. Most of it's still going to be there for next season. So really not too much loss in trying to over fertilize just a little bit.